Yesterday, I was speaking with Jason Hartman, and I was proudly showing him what we call the 53-year spreadsheet. This is something obviously you and I have been talking about for a couple of years. It talks about transactions, price, interest rate, inflation, stocks, home ownership. It's got all of these various metrics all the way back to 1970. And Jason Hartman, in 15 or 20 seconds, basically said, I think you're onto something, but I think you can do better. Of course, at which I said, okay, great. Give me some feedback. And he said, the first thing I think you're missing is leverage. And I said, okay, tell me, what do you mean by that? He goes, nobody buys houses for cash, right? Very few people. So the other thing that you need to realize about real estate is once you are an owner, right? Once it's an asset for you, you get all of the upside and all of the downside, but most cases real estate goes up. So why don't you try to add a row for leverage? Now, we went around and around, and this will actually show on his YouTube channel shortly, I believe. We talked about most people buy with 20% down, which would mean you 5x any upside and 5x any downside, right? Makes sense? Because again, you get all the upside. So theoretically, if value went up 5%, that's on the entire purchase, but it's 25% on your equity, right? If you put 20% down. What you're about to see is I got a little more conservative this morning because I know a lot of my followers are investors, and most of the time we have to put 25% down. So instead of 5xing, I've gotten more conservative and just done a 4x. Again, Jason Hartman wasn't done. He's like, great. Now that we've added leverage, why don't we also subtract inflation? Because again, you're getting the good, but let's also subtract inflation. So again, if inflation went up 9%, you should be subtracting inflation from that percentage. So what I want to highlight for you is that work has been done. It's in my 53-year spreadsheet, which I will show you shortly. You could go ahead and change this, right? I chose to assume 25% down. You could assume 20% down. Shoot, you could assume 10% down. But let's show the numbers and see what happened. So hopefully you can see that now. I'll actually close my window so you don't need to see me. So again, if we go over here, we'll just start at 1970, which is column B for your orientation. We have a row 8, nominal home price appreciation of 7.5%. Now, again, I have assumed leverage of 25% down. So if the house goes up 7.5%, you actually see a 30% return on your equity, right? That's the key here. We are adding an understanding that most of us buy with leverage. So if the house goes up 7.5%, your equity goes up 30%. And then what we do is we subtract inflation, which we've always had in the spreadsheet. That there is row 26. So it is pretty interesting to see that when you look at leverage, which again, most of us know real estate is a leverage game, look at the returns that you have seen over time. Is there any question that owning assets that cash flow, is a good thing? I mean, how long does it take for your equity to double? Let's just see, because these are compounded. Oh no, these are just arithmetic, so they're not compounding. But this is amazing. So again, your equity is more than doubled. It's up 150% by 1973. And let's see what the prices have done. So again, the price, let's see, median home price was 23. Yeah, that makes sense to me, right? You come into 23, you put down like $5,000. Here it is. The down payment's down here. You put your down payment down there, and now you're at $7,200, right? So again, no, that's your down payment. So again, your down payment's $5,000, but you get all of this equity. That's right. That's what you do. You get all of this equity. 23 grand to 36 is an extra $13,000. So Jason Hartman's right. We should take and assume some percentage. I have chosen to assume 25% down. And we should subtract inflation, which we've done, which again is column or row 26. And it is pretty mind-boggling. We also have some down years. Don't get it twisted. We do have some down years. Our first down year is 1980, right? Home prices were up 3.2%. That's 12% on your debt, but don't forget inflation was 13%. So again, you had a negative 0.8%. 81 was actually an up year. 82 was a down year. We can go all the way out to 1991 for our next negative year. Our next negative year was a negative 11%. Again, that was a down year nominally. You would then adjust it, and then you add inflation. Of course, it was a big negative year. But let's see some other years. Let's just finish this out. So, yep, we have the Great Recession, 2007, 8, 9. Look at those. Woo, negative 29%. That was painful in a year. So what does that mean, right? So if you put 10 grand down, you lost 3 grand. That's essentially what that means. And then let's see what happens in this year. 66%. Woof. In 2021 and 50%. So again, the people who are calling for a crash in 2021 and 2022, I guess we're wrong. We'll just leave it at that. But at the end of the day, I thought it was really interesting to take this 50-year spreadsheet, tweak it to more how we look at the real estate cycle, add leverage. Inflation's a feature, not a bug, but bug, so we can put it in. And I want to thank Jason Hartman for making the spreadsheet better. And we'll look to add more and more information. If you have any feedback, go ahead and leave it in comments below. There's always more data sources we can add. If your first time you're seeing this spreadsheet, let me remind you, it's just always important just so the haters out there. We do list all the data sources. You can find the data sources here. These are not my made-up numbers. These come from the St. Louis Fed and other respected sites. So again, there you go. All right, folks, take care. Again, Jason, thank you very much for making the spreadsheet better. Those numbers are pretty eye-popping.